this panel. Welcome Professor Indira Ghosh from JNU, Professor Ayan Banerjee from IISER Kolkata, and Kishan. Welcome all of you in this crosstalk. Okay, now I will stop my presentation, and I will actually. I have a few. We have a set of questions for you. If you allow me, then I will. I can ask them.
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah. So like I would like to ask from I would like to know from Professor Ghosh that like we have seen this from the statistics we have seen that the number of total industry academia collaborations is very less. During COVID, there was an explosion of such partnerships. Now, are such collaborations always driven by necessity? This is my
Yeah. Well, it's a very relevant question, but I don't know whether I can answer all. So I have been in the, I have been almost 360-degree experience in how things happens. So I worked almost 10 years in academia. Then I joined AstraZeneca as their research center in Bangalore. And after 15 years, I shifted back to academia. Now, the major reason I shifted in the initially from academics to the industry was rather personal. But shifting from industry to the academia is my choice. Means I really selected. Now, what I noticed. Both partners, academia as well as industry, only can talk wisely and collaborate with them eventually if they are on the same status. Somewhere in Indian education, in science and engineering, lacks in capturing the at least 12, 20, 15, 20 years back, capturing the demand what is industry would like to have. On the other hand, industry was a segregated, separate entity. And they expected just because they will pay high, they will get a good guys, which is absolutely not correct. So in industry, in my industry, particularly in AstraZeneca, we started working out. Actually, I started to impress the people in industry, the genomics, proteomics, and chemoinformatics would lead another 20 years research. It took me a hard time, I must admit, it took me very hard time to convince people in industry the new process which they realized after 2000. And actually, some of the companies had to stumble off, bound, and they just have to lose. Actually, they had to lose. The reason was that is, neither the academicians are that way very good. They can identify what are the future challenges are coming, whereas industry does not. So this is reverse lag. On other hand, industry wants focused and deliverable objectives. However, our academic research ways, we really do not like to have that. To tell you truth, in my research career last 15 years, I have hardly, 17 years, I have hardly gave students a focused topics. I ask them to develop their topics. And that should be. Now, this is the situation used to be. However, the situation is totally changed, and you rightly pointed out is that catastrophe is needed to become collaborator. Actually, financial catastrophe has made the big industries to become fragmented. Actually, they do. I have shared with you slides you can load on, or you can share with all the members as well. Between 1920 to 2000, you may take, research was going perfectly okay, and everything was under the big building of pharmaceuticals, and pharmaceutical industries were thriving huge amount of money. They collected really huge. Around 2007 and 8, they were hit by product. They were not able to deliver enough product to make profit and run their large, big corporate style research. And that made them to realize the problem. And then they started negotiating with academia. Not only academia, small entrepreneur. And in US, even in Europe, this has thrived a lot. And some of the reports have come out, like 2017-18, ACS published almost Pfizer and the number one, Novartis is the, sorry, J&J is the second one in the market. So Pfizer had 44 high yielding products. Out of them, 34 were outsourced. Out of 34, there were 15 of them are academic research. And I'm talking about drugs. And these drugs are not like COVID drugs. They were not emergency. Same result I saw, in the literature when we look for J&J, almost 50%, more than 50%. Actually, around 89% of J&J's product means money was coming from outsource, and many of them are entrepreneurs. Hence, the whole thing has changed. And this change is because of newer methods, newer technology, not because anything to do with any catastrophe. It is the academicians' learning lesson, and they have become much better in visualizing and fortune teller, I would say. Most of the academics in India, last 15 years, I have made almost 10 university syllabus changed 4 times. You would be surprised. It depends. It's on biotechnology. Is the syllabus changed in physical chemistry, chemical technology? Everywhere they want this new technology to come in, and including genomics. Now, so obviously reason is academicians wants to train their faculties. Similarly, our Indian drug designer or even the vaccine industry standard, they don't have anything but just knows how to make good vaccine produce, but not the science. Drug designer also are not learning much science. Most of them produce that which are available. However, the universe, all other countries, it has further motivated. So I would think this is a opportunity for academia and industry to join together, and the format would be probably new entrepreneur. In India, lacks in making entrepreneur. The young people like Kishan, or I had 5 of my PhD and postdocs are entrepreneur. They got jobs, they left jobs and joined entrepreneurs, and they're doing very well. So it's the time for entrepreneurs associated with this, especially when huge untrapped data can be trapped. So you can do it at home. Plus, like engineering, many engineering techniques needed to be really applied to biology and biosciences, and instruments to be done. I think this is a good opportunity for young people to really take the seat in the driving seat and profited very much. So your IISER has started with a beautiful incubation center, and particularly the Eastern region only center probably. So I'd be happy to know from Ayan how they do deliver and how to make. And Kishan can tell exact life of an entrepreneur. Okay, so many more questions would be good. We will try. And if we cannot answer, please reframe and ask the question. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Pallab.
Thank you, Professor Ghosh. Uh, yes, actually my next question was somewhat what I mean. It overlaps with whatever you just told. I mean, as you mentioned that mostly the academic culture is I mean the research in academic culture is mostly driven by curiosity and is open. Whereas in I mean statistically in industry the research was product driven. Uh, so now I would like to ask Kishan. Uh, I mean that all of us simultaneously both of these cultures were required or indispensable rather for the discovery of vaccines like this COVID vaccine, for example. Now my question would be that in what different ways such open research and publications can help an industry.
So yeah, before like starting up things, I would like to point out something which you mentioned. You said like science is driven by curiosity and industry is driven by product. So I'll say it's not like that. It is like both are driven by curiosity. The difference is science, you will find innovation in like towards the science side, but on the industry side, you will find scale and the operation. So there the idea is what is the problem which everyone is facing? How can I solve that? So that's the curiosity, and that's a question which everyone is trying to ask. The problems are different. So here you are going to ask a basic problem like why something happens, but here it is like how can we take it to like as many people as possible and change their lives. And regarding my perspective, like I'm actually not in industry, I'm not in academy at this point. I'm actually at the bridging point of it. What I am doing is I'm taking things from academia and I am disrupting certain industry. So actually it's not like I'm trying to integrate into like directly integrate into one of the industry, but like basically completely change the process how it is done. And my background and my field right now is digital health, and we focus on sleep and respiratory data as a key biomarker for predictive health. And this is like the direction where we are going forward. I'll tell you the challenges which are there. There are a lot of challenges, but like initial challenges which we are facing right now and which everyone will face. Like I'm not going to talk about like the surface level thing, which is what happens at the policy level, but like what actually happens with like say a PhD or say a master student wants to start something. So the first thing they realize is I'm going to fight with one of the biggest corporations, because you have an idea, and when you start searching that who all have like invented this idea, or who all are working on this idea. So this is a common tendency of everyone in academics, that they will search for, is my idea new or not? But on the industry side, that's not the problem. The problem is, can you implement that idea at a larger scale? So this is going to be one of the transition which is going to happen, that it's not always about the novelty of the idea. It is about the scalability of the idea. How far can you take it? This is the first challenge which we face. So the question is, how are we able to like fight with one of the like biggest corporation in the world? They have like huge amount of resources, and like what Professor Ghosh said is, it's actually true that now instead of working as a big corporation, now all the corporation are breaking down. They are making like small units, and all of them are working in a very agile system. Like they are acting like a startup. But still there are problems, because if you have many, like if you have to coordinate between many small such unit, it becomes a complex system. And as a startup, like when we as an academician start into solving a problem, we have a you can say we have a unique advantage. So we can move very fast. Like instead of just finding one solution, we have ability to look through all possible solution, find out the best thing. We do not have enough resources to implement it, but still like we can approach the best solution as fast as possible. But if you compare with like industry, it is going to take them time. Like even if they have a plan, they have to allot the resources. It is going to take them a lot of time. So that's the advantage which we have. Like for example, in my case, I spent like last 3 years collaborating with 115 university around the world just to collect enough data so that I can have world's largest data set. If we have to like compete with one of the biggest company, we need to have world's largest data set. So it was possible, and the reason was I know how like academics work. Like I'll just give a hack around things. So the hack is, we know what problem PhDs are facing, what problem the PIs are facing, and university admin might be at a different level. So you are not going to interact with university admin to get a collaboration. What you do is you interact with the PhD student, like, okay, what's the problem you are getting? And you start from there instead of like approaching the university. And that was the key thing, how we were able to make a partnership with like 115 university. If you compare our competitor, which is like a bigger company, they cannot do that because they will have to come through the admin. And like, for example, in IISER case also, like you can imagine if someone approaches admin and they want to get collaboration in terms of data, it would be very, very tough. And it happens everywhere. So those are like small hacks which we figure out like while going through the whole process. And second is like when I started, like I'm from IISER, and when I started, I did not had like a clear like roadmap of what to do, because it's not very like straightforward path. But now what I'm realizing is like starting from this decade and also like after COVID, there has been a lot of seriousness from industry side given to academician. Now they are actually listening to everyone. So before it was like, okay, we will do whatever we want. Now it's like we have to listen to what they are saying. So this is a huge opportunity where academician can actually take leadership position in this field. Yeah, so I think that's like some of the comments from my side.
Thank you, Kishan, for saying this. And okay, so I can go to my next question. Professor Ayan Banerjee. So what we have seen in during this COVID period is we found that there was a lot of research going on with COVID-19. Now, since this COVID had set up the final goal to have the product, a vaccine, probably that influenced such, I mean, lot of research to happen. So, my next question would be, in what ways such target specificity that, I mean, that Professor Indira Ghosh was saying, mentioning that the industries are more or less focused. Their research was, I mean, previously they were more or less focused with a goal. So how such target specificity can be also advantageous for academic research?
Okay. Yeah. That is yeah. Academic research, if you really go into a bit of depth, so there are two kinds of research, right? One is blue sky research, which is aimed only for the garnering of knowledge, which may or may not have obvious applications. Just because we are as a species, we are curious, we are different from other species because we are conscious, we are intelligent, we are always wanting to understand where we are and what we are and all that sort of thing, and that curiosity can never ever be curtailed. Even when there was no technology, there was no money, nothing, there was always a bunch of philosophers who used to maybe stare at the night sky, and in order to see the stars well, they built telescopes and all kinds of things, and by that they actually pushed the boundaries of scientific research. So that element will always remain. The other part of research is, of course, something which is more targeted or focused towards immediate improvement of the state in which humanity is existing at the moment, in order for us to develop ourselves, in order to try to control nature, if I may say so. That is, of course, a very probably not something that is a very fair statement. Controlling nature finally will never ever happen. We are also part of nature, so finally there is a philosophical question there as well. Can we really control what we ourselves are made up of anyway? So, but then we do try to look at, how natural forces can at least be tuned or manipulated into our to our advantage and all. And of course, there are even more sort of, if you go to even more granularity, you make small incremental changes which are also useful in the way we live our daily lives. So in the first category that I mentioned, that is this sort of research for the sake of knowledge, that cannot be bound. That is, there are questions which are really, so you maybe that there are two types of questions in science. There is the ultimate question, there's the proximate question. So the ultimate questions are never going to be, I mean, apparently they're not going to give you any short-term solution or any obvious advantage or obvious technological prowess. But at the same time, you also have to remember that the internet was born at CERN. So CERN performs high energy research in high energy physics, things which are absolutely not going to do anything apparently in your life. But what they discovered there has been the next revolution in humanity. Internet is the biggest thing that has probably happened to humanity in the last, 30 years. It is massive. It has completely changed the way we live. It has also completely changed the way we have tackled this pandemic, right? So that is very much there. So even if you are looking into basic so-called no particular question and not so much targeted research, even if you're apparently violating that, even in the search for these ultimate answers and all, you might stumble upon very interesting pieces of technology which will have huge implications in much more mundane senses, if I may say so. Okay. And of course, but then that is an ideal situation. However, I mean, as we use up the planet resources more, and as things like this pandemic happen, we are going to get badly crunched on our resource side, and governments cannot fund too much towards blue sky research and research for the sake of knowledge. That part, I mean blue sky research can be for technology as well. But so you will continuously have pressure from funding sources to actually look into problems which have more definite objectives, more definite solutions, more definite implementations. That is a must. And especially if you come across situations such as this, completely unprecedented situations where our basic lifestyle, our attitude towards life itself has been deeply modified, you will have to we have to fight this with whatever weapons we have. And I think it is clear now that the one weapon that can really help us even face up to this, strange alien object, this virus, it's almost like an alien invasion from outer space, right? This is one thing which has brought the entire humanity together. You have to fight as one race. And the thing that helps us are the methods of science, are scientists who can utilize the methods of science, who can utilize technology, who can develop technology, right? So it is now this strange pandemic or whatever has very interestingly married these two approaches of science. The approach of finding out, things that were never known before, completely knowledge for the sake of knowledge. Just that has to be married to immediate ways of implementing that knowledge gathered, right? So this is a strange opportunity where some kind of boundary conditions have been applied to this sort of research for just research's sake. So of course, in practicality, you go on other times when one could have spent 8 years or 10 years in research. I can tell you, when I did my PhD in IISc, there were several of our friends who used to be who almost looked like permanent objects or permanent assets of IISc. 13 years they had spent, and they were, I don't know what, I mean, their philosophy of life itself was pretty interesting, pretty strange. We can talk about that all day, but I don't want to get into that. But there were people who were like that. Those days are gone. Here you have, as I said, resources are limited. Funding agencies, apply the whip much more fervently than they did before. And you are given a particular amount of time in order to achieve what you want to do. So that is there, that cannot be stopped. But such strange instances as this pandemic has, is a great example of this very, very unique instance, which is very disruptive, very disruptive and destructive. But that has actually enabled very, really blue sky knowledge to be implemented in a very, very, very sharply focused, concise or limited time frame. That was a must, because we have to survive. Everybody knows that the economic, issues that COVID has brought forth are probably much more dangerous than COVID itself. So solutions at very fast pace were a complete requirement. This vaccine is the fastest vaccine ever developed by far. The vaccine that, previously the mumps vaccine was the fastest vaccine with some good, with good efficacy that had been developed, I think, by Merck. That took 4 years. This one has taken, I think, 5-6 months, which is, this sort of, collaboration, all kinds of minds working together, lots of funding, almost limitless funding. That was needed, however, because what COVID was doing was, creating an ecosystem of hunger, which is far more destructive than dying of the virus itself. So that was required. So time frame limited was required, but at the same time, without blue sky research, without blue sky, knowledge-driven research, probably we could not have tackled. This mRNA vaccine itself is a wonder by itself, right? So that has been facilitated only by the desire of scientists to know, to just push the boundaries of knowledge. So yeah, that is what I would like to say about this question.
Thank you, Professor Banerjee. Actually, it is very true that COVID probably has shown both academia and industry that we need more and more collaborations. Okay, so now I will come back to Professor Indira Ghosh, and this question probably will have uh, overlap with your previous answer, but still we would like to ask. We know that you have almost 13 years of experience in industry, followed by 15 years of experience in academia. Now, how two fields are, and how did you take forward such different kind of experience to academia?
Oh, no, I'm glad you asked that question. I'll tell you, my contribution to my industry was that a whole lot of, not only AstraZeneca and not only Bangalore, but all other centers, they realized the importance of informatics. And that was the greatest contribution. When I spoke in the beginning that the era is coming, and it was in 92, in one of our internal meetings, that era is coming where majority of people will be working on different places and they will be handling data. Nobody believed, because, drugs are made in labs, not on computers. And still today they will make in labs, not in computer. However, the amount of loss of trial of coming to the correct drug used to be huge. And that is what has been reduced and made better off. I can tell you one thing, 2007, without much integration of academic knowledge, which was already available then, with publications, and if you count the drugs coming per year, from average companies, number of first 5 companies used to be less than 10. Last 10 years, 2017, I summarized from SES articles. They said that has increased to 100. Average has become 100. That means we are getting many drugs. Of course, it's also because of the collaboration. Now, academia is a very different thing. I had very much brought the academic updation in my industry, and reverse I did in my in my academic, when I brought the knowledge that what can be useful? So taking point from Professor Ayan, the most interesting thing is to know which basic knowledge becomes applicable. What are? So you might be doing a very good formula, equation, everything, and you are going to catch something which is very useful. But you might identify that even a part of it, very small, sometimes even neglected part of it, maybe a small computer program, which normally people write for getting results, not for itself. But that itself may be a very powerful tool for your entrepreneur. So the most important thing is that to identify that the balance between what he said, that ultimate and proximate. So curiosity driven research is the key thing. I don't think technology driven research will do anything even in future. It never did. Actually, to tell you truth, it never did. I can cite you at least 4 or 5 examples of failures. I wrote some in drug research, some of the articles on it. Because, so look at the high throughput screening. Suddenly in 1990, we got this information that, you don't really require one compound and then do the assay. And right in front of me, we purchased the best machines, best training people, and running as parallel few assays. And when within 6 months, I got the data, it was like millions of data points to analyze. You would be surprised to know, I realized not even 0.001% is correct data. And I mean correct is the assay should be compared to the biochemical assay by hand. But this high throughput, people forgot the accuracy. You do mass. So, it's a balance between quality and quantity. So many technology does shortcut, faster, but inaccurate. And ultimately, then you don't get anything in your hand. And that's what happened in high throughput scaling. And people had a great hope, lot of instrument made, and a lot of people purchased it all over the world, but nothing really came out after till almost 10 years. Because by then people realized that we should do the assays in a little different way. So as Kishan also pointed out, in academia, you develop fantastic new idea. And it can be very novel, but to test them in a large scale is very different. And that is where many academic people fail to be successful. What I did other way around, coming to the academics, I started giving lectures, seminars, almost 15 different international conferences within 15 years I did. My major objective was to make people understand, in India at least, the young people, what is coming up. Like few more topics in biology will be driving all our future. One is genotoxicity, genomics and toxicity. It's going to be new cells, people would make artificial cell, not cell lines. And this needs engineering. They will make liver. They have already made liver, but they're trying to make kidney and other parts. So these are the new research where engineering plays the maximum role. With a lot of struggle, probably now all the IITs at least are giving a biotechnology course. But unfortunately, the biology students are taking that instead of engineering students going there. So we really require engineering people to be pulled into this. More of mathematics and physicists to come in. And then this open space like biology would come up highly important role. So you can do both sides. Well, if you ask me which part I enjoyed both the parts. Industry was totally different kind of kick, you may say. And academia has its own glamour. I loved interacting with students, so it was wonderful. And even my faculties, and we started a new school in JNU, which I formulated, and that's called computational. And basically, it is to do with research on using computation and mathematics or analytical systems to understand complex system. So I would not been so much interested if I not been in industry and realize how much you require an integration. So this integration of subjects are highly important. To tell you truth, during the COVID time, I have written one of the article and now it's getting published. This is all about social scientists are running that journal, and they are interested to know how this data surge has affected people, and we are writing an article on that. So you see, the integration of every subject now has become, and COVID has made it sure that it has to be. See, so behavioral pattern has changed. So you can see that many people, like children, they need counseling. I'm sure some of young students also need counseling. So things have changed totally. So I wouldn't go in more details, but other speakers are waiting.
Yeah,
So,
I want
thank you.
to
Thank you, Professor.
bring into notice that Nilanjana Madam has raised a hand for some questions or comments.
Yes,
Maybe
yes,
Pallab,
yes, yes. Yes, yes.
Dr.
Nilanjana.
Nilanjana, can you please ask your question?
Uh-huh. Yes, yes,
Hello,
yes.
everybody.
Yes,
It's
yes.
a wonderful discussion, and I'm just sitting and enjoying it and giving me so much food for thought. I wanted to ask the panelists that I'm sure Indira, you and perhaps Kishan also, you perhaps know about this whole AlphaFold algorithm which Google came up. Now, sometimes this is again a very rare thing to happen where a very well muscled industry, I would call it, industry actually, I will call Google an industry.
Uh-huh.
Something which
It
has
is.
infinite resources, nothing that even the best academic units can match up. They have sheer muscle power, and they take the best people, they just pull the best people out of the academia. They set up a unit, and then, in no time, actually, they solve a problem in times which are orders of magnitude smaller than what the academia is doing. And they actually erase a bunch of, academic jobs, which has happened with AlphaFold. So I know this won't happen every day, but, there are also these rare phenomena where, we are susceptible to those as well. I mean, let's say I don't see it happening, but in principle, tomorrow, if Google comes up with an algorithm to predict all energy landscapes of every protein under every circumstance,
Mm-hmm.
I will run out of ideas.
Oh.
Now, I'm just saying, I couldn't understand, but
I like to bring one answer, only one simple two-line answer. How
yeah.
many of Nobel Prize winners come from industry?
Bardeen, Brattain, Shockley, at least
Exactly.
three.
Oh, I have met Bardeen when I was a student, and I can ask you, I asked him, I would like to take Nobel Prize. What I will do? Shall I join academia? Shall I join industry? I was doing PhD in GNR's lab. So you can see how enthusiastic I was. He told me only one answer. He said, you need to think and produce, preferably in academics, not necessary in industry. So my question, I think your question is answered. Of course, you know what? I looked into AlphaFold Google, and you just wait. Too much hype goes in this advertisement. Most of, like AstraZeneca, take the vaccine of AstraZeneca. It is shattered now. My own company. I know the people who really develop. They are very honest people, but there is a huge hype. I had checked this AlphaFold and Google's methods. What they have done, they have actually collected all possible academics-led researches and then collected all of them and run some of these AIs which they have developed. And I think any one of your students also can develop those AI codes. They are not great. And those they've run, and they selected the best ones and deselected the worst one. So if you ask me honestly, what the unique thing they did, They rejected those logics which were not coming up to 90%. That's my answer. That's all they did. I don't see why can't any academician could have done the same thing. Probably the most of the academics and university students are not interested to bug and look at others' program. You should be happy that we do develop new programs, which we can give it to Google to check. But the ideas actually come from young entrepreneurs and ideas. I'm 100% sure lots of young people have the ideas. The only thing is the mentoring them and taking them onto the level, it will work. Please just try, it will work. That confidence in India, we don't have many. But, I can tell you 3 of my very bright PhD students and postdocs also have joined an entrepreneur. They are really minting money. Actually, they want me to be one of their committees, and I said, no, you do. It's perfectly fine. I think new ideas comes from academia. And Ayan has highlighted that in the beginning itself, where there was nothing. And even if today, when we don't have anything, you sit and think and come up with new ideas. In pen and pencil and paper draft, you make best ideas. So it's not needed that. But I agree, what Google can do and what Google is doing. Just in January 2021, Google and German big industry, they joined together for quantum dot production. Yes, Google can do that. Why IT is interested on the medical industry? Because they are interested, because they think there are untapped lots of data which they can make some sense. But I suppose it is in the academia who can make sense. Someone asked me a question that is it theoretical understanding in academia can be taken to accommodate in industry? I wrote the answer. The most important answer is RNA vaccine by Pfizer and Moderna. The lady who actually wanted to have it 5 years back, she was refused to have a position. Her position was demoted because the huge laboratory facility and idea she had, actually the idea was the best. And today they're minting money out of it. So who says academia doesn't include, new ideas always?
I feel that absolutely, I agree with you 200%. But getting a consortium of a lot of minds together, it's more efficiently done.
Yes.
If you don't have to go through all the hoops of academic all these methodological issues. We would be distracted by paperwork and this. If I want the 10 best people to work, let's say, in an organization like IISER Kolkata, we'll have to go through a lot of these, unnecessary hoops, unnecessary in from my perspective, which perhaps an organization like Google, they can actually make their choice right away. I think that's the advantage they have. They can collect a lot of bright people, much more easily. I completely agree with you. The best ideas come from academia, but those are probably ideas in isolation. Whereas if they're getting, I don't know. I really I hope I kind of.
I think Ayan should take the question. This question should be addressed by Ayan.
Yes. Excuse me. Yes. I just wanted to because I think in this forum at least, I mean, we need to be inclusive. We are as individuals. We all as individuals. We're just, I think, no different from each other. I mean, one part of life perhaps is spent in academia. One part in Indira, the one part in you are you. When you were in academia, you were you. When you were here, you were you. So I think we need to be inclusive, and I really respect anybody who is doing their job professionally. We can be in academia and laze around. We can be in industry and not be useful. So that is one thing, and I do respect. I really, from deep down in my heart, I respect that certain technology is made available for the illiterate, for the people who don't have food in their stomach, so they can't look up in the sky and say, where is that star? Okay, those kind of technologies are taken to the poor to, I mean, now that they have YouTube, everybody has YouTube and has information in their hand because of industry. Because of industry trying to do that, they might make money in this. So that's all I wanted to say, that this is, I think, the more we talk, the more we can help each other, meaning academia and industry, to serve people better. I mean, even serving our own curiosity is finally serving the society. And similarly, taking an idea to the people deep down in the villages is also serving the society. That's all.
Yeah.
Very true.
I had one take on this, very short,
Very true. Yes.
passing take. That
Okay,
is,
so
the ideas come from academia, implementation comes from industry. So implementation is something that we often are not bothered about, which may or may not be good. I'm not going into that, but it is, I don't have too much doubt about the fact that the industry is far better equipped than most of us in order to actually put that idea, put that sort of, that knowledge generated by us into practice. This putting into practice, that is not something which is very easy to do in academia, but industry, which is with its much more straight-jacketed system and much more efficient method of production, where you have very, very targeted deadlines to meet and very clear. When I was in GE, this was this word that I had learned there. It's called CTQ. So it's critical to quality. So every project that I worked on, the first thing that you defined was a set of CTQs, critical to qualities, and those were absolutely written down virtually in stone. Of course, there was no stone. You wrote it in Excel or PowerPoint, but those absolutely jotted down at the beginning of the project, had to be ticked at every evaluation which happened, which was like monthly with your global team, quarterly with your your local manager, and half yearly with the GE boss, because the GE hierarchy is very limited. So the CEO and myself were like 4 positions off. So while we did not report to the CEO, we have reported to 2 people, 1 person below, or 2 people below, the second in lead, third in lead. They used to come and take presentations, right? So when that kind of big boss comes and listens to you, you better be everything is crystallized very, very solidly. So that is not there in academia, but see, that system also has its pitfalls, because you do not have the time or whatever, even the commitment to slightly think out of whatever has been planned for you. If you are in the leadership position, you design your plans and your team's plan, but you better stick to it, because every second of your time is paid for. So so I think the way things work. So I think one thing that is really required for people in academia is to know the details, the nitty-gritties with which the industry works. So every person in industry has a cost to company. So every hour that I spent on GE work costed the company about $117 that time. This is in 2008, 2009, right? Every hour that a person of my same rank in the US worked in GE cost almost twice my rate or whatever. Okay, so $200 per hour. So you don't get that, please. You get 1/10 of that, or I don't know, something like that. Nothing of that sort. But every second you spend is actually budgeted for. And in that situation, there is almost no chance of thinking anything that is not there in the plan that has been devised before. That is absolutely the opposite in academia. Well, I won't say completely opposite, but you don't really have, there is no, when I talk about these things, people get stunned that what are you talking about? Wow. And this is nothing there. Anybody who joins GE the first day, these things are drilled into their heads. And I'm sure GE is just a model, right? Every company does the same thing. right? So there is a straitjacketedness in industry, which is somewhat it's preventive of absolutely blue sky ideas. So I can tell you there were two things that every year we had to, of course, come up with ideas, but there were two types of ideas. One was sustainable, one was disruptive. So sustainable was existing GE project, you try to improve it. Disruptive was blue sky. That blue sky is not at all comparable to academic blue sky. Okay, that blue sky is also basically you flick something from a paper that is not patented yet, or you work around it and come to something which has IV potential, and that to them is disruptive. Okay, completely blue sky in my 5.5 years in GE, I have never seen. Okay, I tried to push in several ideas. I was rebuffed almost all the time. And my last year, I did manage to get 2 projects that were completely devised by me. But if I really, I mean, this is like, I can probably afford to be brutally honest here. Those ideas that I got would have led to very mediocre papers in academia. I can straight tell you that. But they were jumping because they thought it was brilliant. Okay, so do not underestimate what we are doing in academia. It is a fact that at times, of course, we are a bit carried away. We get a bit carried away. We absolutely do not think of what it would take to get this to a product. We don't think of the product at all, which is not a good idea. In fact, the codes that some of my colleagues in physics who have not absolutely no interest in productification at all, who are writing codes in, Coldness matter, renormalization, and all kinds of extremely erudite stuff. That same code can be tempered a bit and can be used to develop some mobile technology or some finance app or some, very clever thing that can be right away used. In fact, I've tried to convince a few of my good friends in physics that you do this so well. Why are you not just implementing? So they are doing machine learning and all. So I'm telling, just do this, use the same algorithm. Why don't you go away and do stock market prediction? This is exactly that. It's a tough thing because the mindset is not there. But then academia, the freedom that you get, that I can tell you, people in industry at times even crave for.
Yes. I guess Kishan is waiting. Kishan,
Yeah,
can you?
Kishan, yeah, please.
I guess you have raised your hand.
I just wanted to tell Ayan and all of you, in academia, we are also paid by hour. The difference is the profit or the money generated are from our own pocket, that is from public money. Actually, in academia, we should be more concerned about this. I'm surprised.
Totally
Many
agree.
students of mine, I
Totally
train
agree.
many students, and my first talk is, you are wasting your parents' money. They are hard-earned taxing, and that's you are wasting. So, industry, I don't mind if I waste industry in Swedish industry, particularly was with the Swedish industry, and who cares what Swedish taxpayers are paying. I would never like to spend a single extra money when I came back to my academics because it is hard-earned public money. I'm accounted for more than others, number one. Number two, so I think we should perpetuate this knowledge. Yes, you must be careful to spend a single buck and your own time because you are paid by public. Number two is you haven't got fantastic freedom. I agree with Ayan. I was called no problem person in my industry, in AstraZeneca all over. They used to call this NPP. And I was famous because any trouble or challenges given to me, I found very simple solutions. The reason is they were disorganized. The chemists and biologists, particularly biologists, they're very disorganized. None of them came from physics concept. In physics, we always have normalization and denormalization. So we are always straightened very well. And the only thing I did is frame them. That's all. Their problem was framed, and that's all got maximum amount of appreciation. However, I was not happy. The reason is I have piled up very new ideas to use genomics and other subjects and make more profitable ideas. I made one, tuberculosis was our main projects. I made a list of 73 most priority target proteins in TB. My company worked for, after I left 2003, they worked till 2013. Not even they completed all the 72. They had only completed 5 of them. And out of 5, 2 of them, they got very good results. And they used to call me and say, please come, you should be paid for it, etc. Whereas this rest of the 70, I started working and I found much better, exciting. And one after another, my PhD students always enjoy it because they never have to rework on somebody else's work. They all have novel projects. As Ayan has said, but these novel projects have no value to my company. It was wonderful value to me and academia. People love it. Project students would love to work on that. So we have the second point I must have. We have fantastic freedom of thinking. And number 3 is we work not for money. We work because I love that topics. I don't think in industry you have a choice. If you are lucky and you are on the topmost line, you can work and enjoy. Majority of them work, earn, but they don't enjoy.
Absolutely right.
Here I do work. I have a huge amount of salary. Who said we don't have salary? Professors earn too much salary. And then we have freedom of work. If we do not use, I'm sorry, whom we are blaming? We are the standard maker. We are the standard maker. Our students would be following us. Our colleagues will be following. We are the standard makers. So we shouldn't care for industry. Actually, I would think industry will come to Nilanjana. That's what I'm seeing it. However, we require people like Ayan to understand and bring them. Industry may go to something like IISc or TIFR and all these well-known places where they would not help them, but they would maybe take money. I had AstraZeneca, many projects we gave it to IISc, nothing we got, to tell you the truth. We only supported them, and in our special meetings we showed their director and head of the departments. And I was ex-IISc, and so I felt very happy. But I got much better off from NCL collaboration, IIT Kanpur collaborations, many other collaborations. We got good products, really good things which chemists like, biologists like. So let me very clearly say, I think industry need to be bring here, and lot of academic people also has to be understanding how valuable their research are. Most important is how valuable their research are. Mostly students should do that. I think I will request on behalf of Pallab, I see. So I request Pallab, sell this idea to all your friends and tell them, why don't you write down which are you think can make, can be applied, can be, implemented. How to do implementation, leave it to Ayan. He might find collaborators. But you all should do that. Here is one. Kishan is waiting for you all to join. And give him lot of things.
Interns.
Yes, please.
Kishan, I think you have something to say for a long time.
Over otherwise, yes. Kishan, you are waiting for long. Yes, please.
No, we are actually running out of time. So I would like to mention few points. So I think one of the most important thing is we are very good in making compartments and making categories like academics, industries, but ultimately we are actually individual and we have certain goals, we have certain things in mind, and everyone has personal goal. So even if you see industry, for example, Google, I can actually give you a very exact example. Verily is working in a field similar to us, and we know the people who are working over there, and those people were in academics, and they were like doing very well. So these are the same people working over there, and the reason they are working in Google right now is they need it, like they need that solution. So basically they will reach out to academician and they will ask them to join the team, and that's like how it works. Like it is same for us. Like as we are moving ahead, we need certain type of like research work. Like we were focused on only like particular thing, now we are expanding in different fields. So we are looking for like say PhD student who are in certain fields, in neuroscience and in certain fields. So that is like one of the thing which keeps happening, and everyone is like individual, like how it works. And we are trying to solve like world's problem, either like through curiosity, or we have some like a pain point in with us, and we are trying to solve that. And yeah, I'll have to leave very soon right now. Yeah.
It is true. Like so, probably after today's meeting, we students will be confused to choose industry or academia, and we actually need it. We need this confusion to carry forward. With this, I want to hand over it to Priti to chair the rest of the session. Thank you all the panel members. Yes.